on. Well, I guess we're gonna do what is this? A reaction?
Reaction?
Yeah, reaction to the top 10 conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. Well, let's see if that's true or not.
He had a blank look in his eye. He didn't know who we were. He didn't know we were his daughters.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 conspiracy theories.
Isn't that called Alzheimer's?
True.
Oh, there's the president sitting there signing a document.
Or any timers. The best way to stop your wife from talking is to ignore her.
We'll be going over the strangest and most famous conspiracy theories that were actually conspiracy facts. Is there a theory you once believed?
Oh, this is a long time ago.
Was a load of baloney? Tell us in the comments. Number 10, Roswell cover-up. In the summer of 1947, an object crashed down to Earth in Roswell, New Mexico. Theories that it was an alien spacecraft have pervaded pop culture for over a half a century since.
Everybody thinks that Roswell was the first sighting of a UFO in the United States, and that's bull.
The U.S. Air Force claimed that the object was merely a weather balloon, only added fuel to the fire. And the conspiracy theorists were right. It was no weather balloon, and there was a cover-up. But it wasn't an alien ship either, probably. The object was a high-altitude balloon, launched as part of Project Mogul. These balloons were intended to detect sound waves from Soviet atomic bomb tests. During the Cold War, the U.S. military couldn't exactly be honest about that in the papers. Now, whether you think that's another cover story, well...
This should not be another damn Russian spy job.
Number 9. Big tobacco.
Okay, pause this for a second. You know, I don't know about that because, you know, I was alive back then. And I don't think it was a weather balloon. I don't think that it was anything. I don't know. I wasn't there. That's a conspiracy. See, get it? Get it? I wasn't there.
Extensive use of this technology, which is called ammonia chemistry, that allows for nicotine to be more rapidly absorbed in the lungs and therefore affect the brain and central nervous system.
Smoking causes lung cancer and a lot of other adverse health effects. Scientists demonstrated this definitively in the 1950s. However,
Okay, we gotta pause this again. Okay, so what smoking really does, it keeps you from wanting to kill the people that are around you.
Debatable.
Seriously. I mean, no, I'm not a big, advocate to tell people to smoke or anything like that, but, it does help calm the nerves.
There's no ways to do that.
Yeah, it's, what, alcohol?
No, just
Drugs?
be better. Calm down. Just calm down and be better.
Calm down, okay.
Calm down. It's not that serious.
But you don't live with you.
That's fine. Well, technically, I do live with me in here.
For decades, with sources springing up to generate controversy and debate. Some suspected that the tobacco industry was suppressing and distorting the facts through a coordinated campaign, and it eventually came out that they were. Together, the world's largest tobacco companies initiated Operation Berkshire to generate fake controversy and debate. Big Tobacco knew that smoking caused cancer and that nicotine was addictive. They decided not to make cigarettes less harmful because addiction made them a lot of money.
Now the worker did it was confidential.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck. They still don't care.
Any more than I once.
Well, I think what it is too is that way back, before these big tobacco companies like Philip Morris and whoever else makes tobacco products, they weren't putting chemicals in them to preserve the tobacco. It was just raw tobacco. And so they can't really say for sure, I guess, back then, if it was the cigarettes that killed them because there was other diseases and everything else like that people were going through. So people didn't live a whole really long lives. But it's the chemicals that they put in it to preserve it that is really, really dangerous. Because, tobacco is just a plant, really. I'm not advocating, of course, for cigarettes or cigarette usage, but come on, get serious. People get addicted to the chemicals.
Mm-hmm. Smoking period is bad.
Yes, it is. It is. But there's a lot of other factors. And Philip Morris and all of those other ones, they really did pump up how glamorous it was with, the movie stars and the smoking and how wonderful it was. It got so many people addicted. And now, instead of the tobacco, now they're using more chemicals like vape, which is even just as dangerous, or if not more so, in my opinion. Okay.
I really don't know. I don't do either.
Just goes to show, where there's smoke, there's often fire.
See how camels agree with your throat. See how mild and good tasting a cigarette can be.
If you're a homeowner in Oregon and you're still paying for electricity, then I've got some
We got to
good
cut out
news
the
for you.
ad.
Number 8, the White Sox through the World Series. The Chicago White Sox are on record for having one of the longest droughts between winning World Series at 87 years. However, they weren't always known for their bad luck. Back in the late 1910s, the Sox won in 1917, and they even had a wonder like Shoeless Joe Jackson on the team. Yet, rumors during the 1919 series held that the games were fixed. The White Sox lost the series, but the rumors persisted into the next year. Eventually, a grand jury found evidence that 8 players, including Jackson, though his role is disputed, were involved in a conspiracy to receive money in exchange for throwing the series.
I think the Black Sox players saw a high reward for what they were doing. They could make as much as their yearly salary in 1 week for fixing the World Series.
While a trial found them not guilty, they were nevertheless banned from the league permanently. Number 7, nefarious agents infiltrated the government. The Church of Scientology is infamously touchy about any criticism of their organization.
These people are fluky.
I didn't mean anything by it. I don't even know L. Ron Hubbard.
Their influence over celebrities is well known, but theories about their influence over the government are also out there. And here's the thing. Scientologists really did infiltrate the government. In the 1970s, at least 5,000 members of the organization conducted espionage on government agencies and private organizations. And this wasn't a
And yet
fringe
people
idea.
believe in this
The
stuff.
founder's wife, Mary Sue Hubbard, pleaded guilty and went to prison. It was one of the largest scale infiltrations of the U.S. government in history. All of this was done with the aim of destroying evidence that painted Scientology
People are gonna
in an
believe
unfavorable light. It
whatever
arguably
they
had
want
quite the
anyway,
opposite
so-
effect.
Yeah.
They can be pretty sensitive.
Number 6, the FBI spied on political activists.
Of course they did.
Those involved in political
The FBI
protests
spies
and
on us
other
now.
activist causes are often paranoid that they're
Right?
being watched. And
Always
it
got
is
Big
shady
Brother
because
watching.
It's happened before, and it can happen again.
Tapes from the hotel rooms, FBI reports, those are pieces of information that we shouldn't have.
From the late 50s to the early 70s, the FBI...
I just think it's sad it just took so long
and disruption of protest movements
for
and
any
other
type of
organizations
equality, and they're still
subversive.
being treated
Realize how sick this country was. We were trying to reveal
badly.
about segregation.
These ranged from independence movements to civil rights movements to feminist organizations. They even had John Lennon, the former Beatles frontman, under watch. While this program, named COINTELPRO, was abolished in 1971, others may have taken its place.
This represents the darkest part of the Bureau's history.
Number 5, the first female U.S. president. While the United States has
Hasn't happened
elected
yet.
a woman to the office of president, by electoral college anyway, some theorize that a woman has assumed the duties of the office already. In 1919, President Woodrow Wilson suffered a debilitating stroke. This left him bedridden and partially paralyzed with some impaired judgment.
If I don't help him be president, what kind of wife am I?
For over a year, Wilson's wife Edith aided him in governing the country, to the point where she is basically performing his job in all but name. The degree of her involvement was kept a close secret.
Where is this in the
Wilson
history
herself
books?
denied that she made executive decisions until her death.
So he's like sitting there, and they like move his arm, and then they just release that to the press, and that's how dumb people were back then.
Oh, I get it, because it's
Government is
history. Not her story, it's history.
And conspiracy nuts for
His
decades
story.
has been that the government is watching our every move. And it's not completely wrong. With the rise of smartphones and the internet, the government...
Okay, well, part of that, though, if you think about it, he's supposed to be the president. He's supposed to be the face. If he goes down, that means you're you know what I mean? You're
vice
commander.
president.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But at the time, she was probably doing, like just they said, she was doing the job, doing his job and governing the country and all that stuff. Because she was doing it, they don't want his reputation to be
well. I can understand where you're coming from, but that's like in the 80s when Ronald Reagan was shot. They went to take pictures of him in the hospital to make sure that he was okay, and instead of, the man had bullets in him, and instead of keeping the door closed, I mean, they had him propped up in the hospital bed saying he was okay. And to me, that's just, it's wrong on any level. I mean, he's a human being. If he was shot, he needs the care. Why would you? His vice president, George Bush, should have just stood up and just taken care of business, but he didn't. He didn't. He wanted to smooth and make everybody think that Ronald Reagan was okay, that President Reagan was okay, when at the time that he wasn't. He was in critical condition. So there's a whole bunch of cover-ups.
Oh yeah, of course.
Has unprecedented access to information on its citizens.
They're following us.
In the wake of 9/11, the Bush administration initiated far-reaching mass surveillance programs, both foreign and domestic. The NSA's activities in the years since have included sucking up and storing online history, emails, metadata, text messages, you name it. Edward Snowden revealed a lot of this info with his leaks, including how other governments were also implicated.
Even if you send it to somebody within the United States, your wholly domestic communication between you and your wife can go from New York to London and back and get caught up in the database.
Few believe that in the time since, governments have just given up. Number 3, false justification for war. In August 1964, the USS Maddox fired a warning shot as 3 North Vietnamese torpedo boats approached the Gulf of Tonkin. After the torpedo boats opened fire, the Maddox sank all 3. 2 days later, the report of a second attack prompted President Lyndon B. Johnson to authorize further military action in Vietnam. For years, people questioned this justification.
At one point, the commander of the ship said, "We're not certain of the attack." Another point, they said, "Yes, we're absolutely positive." And then finally, late in the day, Admiral Sharp said, "Yes, we're certain it happened."
It was eventually revealed that the second attack was imaginary, based on wrongly interpreted communications intercepts. It wasn't the last dubious rationale for war. In 1990, George H.W. Bush leveraged false testimony crafted by a public relations firm to initiate the Gulf War. Over a decade later, his son would falsely claim that Iraq possessed WMDs to justify an invasion.
The people of the United States and their friends and allies will not live at the mercy of an outlaw regime that threatens the peace with weapons.
This stuff is sick.
Number 2, Watergate scandal.
Hold on, but pause that for a second. A lot of these politicians, they can start wars, they can go into all of these battles with all of these different countries, even our own, and they can send our men to go fight for what they think at the moment is good, but where's their sons? How come they're not throwing their sons out there? You know what I mean? It's weird. I mean, we just ended up with a president who ran. He ran from the draft. Oh, now I guess what George H.W. is that's the son's name, right?
No, George W. is the son.
Okay.
George H.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, but he actually served. I mean, he actually served his country, and I mean, we got to give him props for that. But, our last president didn't. I wonder how many of our presidents actually served. I don't think Obama did either, did he?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. But we weren't in wartime, right? When he was coming up, or were we?
I think we were still in war with Iraq. They were still sending food to COVID.
Oh wait, I think,
and
but
then-
isn't that the law that if you're the only male son, because you have to carry on the family name?
Possible.
That,
But
yeah, we'll have to look into that. I think.
But I do know that Obama, when he was in office, that's when they found Osama.
Oh yeah.
So technically it was still going on while he was in office.
Yeah, but it didn't stop them from. I mean, it didn't bring our troops home. That didn't happen for quite a while later, right?
I honestly can't remember when,
No,
because I think some people are still over there. Obviously, regular duties and
yeah, because we're America. We put a flag.
Mm-hmm.
Political conspiracy of all time, the Watergate scandal was unthinkable when it occurred.
Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook.
The scandal began when Republican President Richard Nixon's administration illegally wiretapped and broke into the Democratic National Committee headquarters.
We don't know who ordered the burglary, and we don't really know what the burglars were up to that night.
Their aim was to acquire information about Nixon's opposition in the forthcoming election. The arrest of the perpetrators led to attempts by Nixon and his administration to cover up their involvement. However, mounting evidence and leaks soon exploded into a scandal that has become a byword for political disgrace, leading to Nixon's resignation.
One of the things that's so hard to recreate and understand now, looking back, is there was no sense that the president could lie to the American people.
Things have changed, Garrett.
Things have changed today.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest
Is
videos.
that
You have
they
the
called that
option
guy
to
who
be
was
notified for occasional videos or all of them.
who was feeding
If
him
you're on your
the
phone,
information?
Make sure you go into settings
Deep
and
throat.
switch on your notifications.
I've never heard that.
Huh?
Number one.
No, I've never heard
CIA
that.
Are you
conducted
serious?
Mind control experiments. The idea of a government agency trying to control people's minds might sound like science fiction, but it really happened.
Prostitutes would lure men to these apartments, and then once the men were in the apartments, they were dosed with LSD, and then they were basically studied by CIA scientists.
In the 1970s, a commission on the CIA's activities within the U.S. exposed the existence of Project MK-Ultra, a secret program that used drugs and torture to manipulate its victims' mental states.
Yeah, but didn't they do this to some of our military?
LSD. It was horrible.
These experiments were conducted on prisoners in secret detention centers around the world, as
Possible.
well as within American universities, hospitals, and prisons. The CIA also funded brutal experiments involving electroconvulsive therapy in Montreal, Canada. Victims of MK-Ultra included Ken Kesey and Allen Ginsberg. It's one of the darkest conspiracies out there, and we still don't know the full extent of it. Did you enjoy this video? Check.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what's your thoughts? Leave a comment below. Tell us what you think.